It's Will Wofford with Berkshire Hathaway, York, Simpson, Underwood Realty in Raleigh, and today I'd like to take you on a tour of NC State and a few neighborhoods that surround it. We'll be looking at Fairmont, Fairmont, Bagwell, Cameron Park, College, Crest, and Method. These are some pretty cool areas right around NC State. So come on, let's take a ride and let's go look at NC State. All right, as we start our tour of the NC State area, we're cutting through campus. We started on Western Boulevard, past Jordan Hall, and then Reynolds Coliseum, and on the right is the Dale Soccer Complex, where they run track, have softball, and play soccer. On the right, Pullen Park, and next on the right is Theater in the Park. And we're headed up Hillsborough Street, and I've got an overview map of Cameron Park. Cameron Park is a really neat neighborhood that is adjacent to Hillsborough Street off Oberlin Road and Clark Avenue. There are around 301 detached properties in the neighborhood, 256 or 85% are owner occupied. And the homes were built between 1901 and 2004, with the typical year built being 1925. The lots are about 0.22 of an acre, and they have city water, sewer, and gas. Properties in the neighborhood range in size from around 1,981 square feet to just over 4,000 square feet, with a median or typical size of around 2,987 square feet. Prices in the last 12 months have ranged from $548,000 to $1,395,000, with a median price of just under $850,000. This neighborhood was built in the early 1920s, around the same time Boylan Heights and Glenwood, Brooklyn were being developed. This neighborhood, however, was built primarily for upper class residents, and house size and price really mattered. You'll find a variety of architectural styles in the neighborhood, including Queen Anne, Colonial Revival, Georgian Revival, bungalows, Tudor Revivals, Mission Revivals, as well as modern homes. So there's quite a variety of architectural styles in this neighborhood. I think probably the most interesting thing about the neighborhood is the way the original architects, landscape architects, designed the overall neighborhood. There are 3 ravines that cut through Cameron Park, and they use those ravines to create, it's like natural buffers. I mean, when you're driving through Cameron Park and you're adjacent to a ravine, it almost feels like you're in the mountains, or you're somewhere else. You're somewhere other than Hillsborough Street in Raleigh, it feels like. And that's what makes this neighborhood so special, is the way that they use the challenging topography, very similar to Hayes Barton, leaving lots of open areas, lots of open space, and the challenging areas just work to the advantage and create natural buffers that are very beautiful. So if you're interested in property in this neighborhood, there were 9 sales in the last 12 months, representing a 3% turnover. In the last 24 months, there have been 18 sales. That's also a 3% turnover. So consistent turnover around 3%. Typically turnover around 7% makes it pretty easy to find property. Anything below 5 means that you really have to be on the lookout. You need to know what you want, have your financing in place, and when something hits the market, you need to be able to decide if this is the type of property you want to move forward with pretty quickly, if you want to purchase property in a neighborhood like this. All right, the public schools that are assigned to this neighborhood are typically Wiley Elementary, Oberlin Middle, and Broughton High School. Wiley is located on the perimeter of the neighborhood, and Broughton High School is just across the street. So this neighborhood is super convenient for those schools. You do, however, need to check and verify if you're buying property for a specific school, on the Wake County Public Schools site. All right, next we'll be visiting the neighborhood of Fairmont, which is right off Hillsborough Street. As you can see, I have a map of Fairmont. If you ever need to pause, or you can do that and look more specifically at this area. This is a really neat area, in my opinion. It really has the feel of a neighborhood that you would expect to find around a university. There are around 192 homes in the area, 76 or 40% are owner occupied. And there's been one sale in the last 12 months. In the last 24 months, there's been 2 sales. So turnover here is less than 1%. So it's very challenging to find property in this particular neighborhood. Homes range in size in this neighborhood from around 1,430 square feet to as large as 3,700, or just under 3,800 square feet, excuse me. But your typical size is going to be around 2,225 square feet. Prices have ranged from $420,000 to $749,000 on those last 2 sales. All the property in this neighborhood have city water, city sewer. There's no HOA fee, and the typical lot size is 0.21 of an acre. We're on Clark Avenue right now, and Clark Avenue runs parallel to Vanderbilt, that we'll be on in just a second, which runs parallel to Hillsborough Street. Clark Avenue takes you to Cameron Village, so this is a very popular street. It's somewhat of a busier street, but it runs the heart of the neighborhood. Okay, we're going to turn on Horn Street, which will take us to Vanderbilt Avenue, and I think you'll see it really does start to feel like you're near the university when you're on this street and all the streets thereafter. The housing changes and it looks more typical of what you would expect. If you're looking for property around NC State so that somebody can go to school, or if you want to walk to school, this would be a great neighborhood. This street we're going down right now, Vanderbilt Avenue, is literally across the street from the heart of campus. I believe this street is so convenient to NC State that I'm going to go to the end of the street and turn around and come back up so that you can see for yourself just how close it is to the campus. As you can see just beyond the houses, you can see NC State, and so it's just Hillsborough Street that's in between you and NC State at this neighborhood. We're going to go up Polk Street and I'm going to take you down Horse Track. Horse Track is a really super neat street. You're gonna see the right side of Horse Track on the left. It's a lot of detached housing, regular homes that a lot of college kids are living in, but the right side that you see here is what's actually part of the neighborhood. And what's special about this street is Hillsborough Street in general has a lot of commercial building going on right now. And so they've eased the zoning restrictions and properties are going up in the air. And so you're seeing a lot of larger buildings. Well, this street has some RX3 zoning, so that's residential mixed use. And you also have some quadruplexes that we just passed. So property on this street has more value than some of the other areas we saw in the neighborhood, because that's typically R6. So higher density on this street, and therefore you're going to have a higher value for the property in general. Okay, as we come out to Hillsborough Street, we are heading to Bagwell neighborhood next, and it's going to feel like we're riding down Hillsborough Street for a while. Well, we were at the extreme end of Fairmont when we got on Horse Track, but everything you see on the right actually is in front of the Fairmont neighborhood. Like I said, it's just that we took Clark Avenue and Vanderbilt and went all the way to the end of Fairmont, but Fairmont is actually just behind all of the buildings you see on the right. All right, as we approach the neighborhood of Bagwell, we're on Dixie Trail, and this is another neighborhood that is super convenient to NC State. All right, there are 89 homes in Bagwell. 30 are owner occupied, or 34%. There have been one sale in the last 12 months and 2 sales in the last 24 months. So that's just a 1% turnover. So difficult to find the property you want in this neighborhood. I should have mentioned this neighborhood is around 24 acres in size. Cameron Park was 116 acres in size, and Fairmont that we just left was 76 acres in size, roughly. So as we go down Daisy Street, you'll notice the houses here. I mean, they have the look and feel of something you would expect in a college area. Pretty neat houses. Again, the zoning, I think a lot of people think, and it hasn't changed yet, that by buying these properties and holding them, obviously the zoning regulations might loosen up, and they might have a higher density use in the future. But they're not building any more property next to Hillsborough Street, and this is super convenient. So these properties don't come up that often, and when they do, they don't last long. Properties in this neighborhood range in size from 750 square feet to 3,500 square feet, with a median or typical size being 1,200 square feet. Prices have ranged on the last 2 sales between $400,000 and $443,000, with a median of $421,500. The typical year built is 1938. With city water, sewer, no HOA, and a typical lot in this neighborhood is 0.2 of an acre. The schools for this neighborhood, as well as Fairmont, are Olds Elementary, Martin Middle, and Broughton High School. As always, you need to check on the Wake County school site. You can confirm your address for this school year and next school year if the schools are of importance to you. So as you can see, we are super close to NC State in this neighborhood. So I think this location is an excellent choice if you're looking to rent or purchase property to serve as student housing. So the further you get off Hillsborough Street, the more likely it is that the homes are owner occupied. I mean, there are some nice homes, very nice homes in all of these neighborhoods, but it's just obviously the ones that are right on top of Hillsborough Street are typically going to be your smaller ones that are rented out for student housing. All right, as we head back down Hillsborough Street, I'm going to take you to a really neat, tiny neighborhood called College Crest. It's only 8 acres, and on that 8 acres are 28 homes, 10 of which are owner occupied. So this is, like I said, a really neat neighborhood that most people don't even know anything about. Okay, there's been one sale in this neighborhood in the last 12 months. And there have been no other sales in the last 2 years. So it will be difficult, very difficult to find property in this particular neighborhood. As you'll see, I mean, you're almost on campus in this neighborhood because we're on the opposite side of Hillsborough Street that we were in the other 3 neighborhoods. But that's NC State right there. So it literally almost joins the campus right here. Also, you'll see all the homes here are older, and it's pretty neat with the architecture you see here. They were all built between 1917 and 1950. The one that just sold was 982 square feet, but the typical size you'll find here is about 1,200 square feet. And it looks like there's going to be a new construction home because they had that vacant lot. So that's pretty neat, right next to campus. So, neat little area. All right, next we're going to head down to a neighborhood a little bit further down, but you can still walk to campus from here. It's called Method, and we're going to, basically it's across from Meredith College, and we're going to turn at the Waffle House. But there's 153 homes in this neighborhood. 42 are owner occupied, or 27%. There have been no sales in the last 12 months. However, there is one that's contingent and should close in a few days. There have been 2 sales in the last 24 months, so that's less than a 1% turnover, so not so easy to find property in this neighborhood. Okay, so the typical size of these properties is between 700 and 1,800 square feet, with the typical size being 1,233 square feet. Prices on the last 2 sales were between $180,000 and $195,000, with a median price of $187,500. The property that's contingent, and I don't usually talk about contingent property because it hadn't happened yet, but it is going to happen in a few days. It was listed at $250,000, and what was interesting about that house is it was a tiny house, yeah, like the ones you see on the TV, the tiny house. So I think it was built sometime in 1997, I believe it was built. So it was a newer build. The typical time you'll find property built out here was 1993, but I do mention the tiny house because it was priced at $250,000 and it was just over 1,000 square feet. So it'll be interesting to see what that closes for. Here you do have city water, city sewer, no HOA, and lots range in size from 0.15 to 0.2 of an acre. So as you can see riding down this street, I mean, this would be a typical street in the neighborhood, and it's, you know, a lot of rentals in the neighborhood, so college kids are renting them. Super convenient to NC State. So investors or owners that have these properties, they don't have any problem renting them. So they're just great properties to own. There are some townhomes in this neighborhood as well. So if you're looking for rental property or you're looking to purchase property, you do have townhomes or you do have detached houses in this area as well. But this is definitely a popular location for student housing.
Hey, it's Will Wofford again with Berkshire Hathaway, York, Simpson, Underwood Realty in Raleigh. I sure hope you enjoyed my tour of NC State and the surrounding neighborhoods. If you have any questions about this area or any other areas in Raleigh, please feel free to reach out to me and I'd be glad to help you. If you like the video, please like it and subscribe to my channel. And thanks so much for watching.